Yes.
All right.
You can go for it, Vanessa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for making time to come to this webinar. I know it's after work, everyone is tired and they just want to rest, but you made some time to come and listen to what we have to share. So I really appreciate that. I just want to remove this so that I can be able to see. Perfect. So today I'll be looking at youth activism for a green and sustainable future, the role of education and community engagement. So as Khaltsha has already mentioned, my name is Pare Santala. I currently stay in Port Elizabeth, Gqeberha. I have collaborated with Catwalk Youth Development Agency, which is a youth-led organization that drives sustainable change in communities, working with young people. So what we've created there, we're trying to create programs that support youth activism, that support youth advocacy, that support young people to take a stand and be catalysts of change. So we have different programs that we are running here in Gqeberha. Okay. Can you please, it doesn't wanna, I'm trying to say next, but it's not moving. Is it moving on your side? Okay, there. Is it moving on your side? Please confirm.
Yes, it's all right. It moved when you said, yeah, it moved.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. So today I'll be looking at the importance of youth participation in environmental sustainability, empowering communities through environmental education, success stories from Africa and beyond, and actionable steps for sustainable development. So I just want everyone to think about your community. Have you ever walked by piles of trash or waste, or seen children playing near a polluted area? And I need you to think about that for a minute, because that's a reality, not just in South Africa, but globally in most communities. And most of the times, those communities are labeled as not wanting to take care of their community or their littering. But think about growing up in that kind of community and all you can see is waste around you. It becomes a norm. It becomes a part of who you are. It becomes part of the furniture of the community. So really, when we approach these engagements or these conversations, I would like us to approach them from a point of empathy and trying to find sustainable change for these communities, and not from a point of blame or pointing fingers or saying words or names or naming people from those communities as certain things that they are not. So today I want us to move from this picture that I'm showing you here to a more positive outlook of how we can drive sustainable change in our communities. So what's the importance of a clean environment, a clean and green environment? And as I've mentioned before, when I showed you that image, when the children are playing with waste, to them, it seems normal because it's something that's out there that they can use to play with. But that causes so many health risks. And not only that, but waste or pollution causes so many challenges. But today I don't want to focus on the challenges because I'm sure we're here because you know what the challenges are on waste management and the waste in our communities. But I want us to look at the importance of clean and green environment. Why should we have a clean and green environment? Why is it good for us? So a clean and green environment improves public health. It reduces pollution, and the air or the environment is much cleaner, which means there's a low possibility of people being sick because of the pollution. And I'm sure if you live in Khayelitsha, these are the stories that I've heard, that the rats there are as big as a cat. And most of the times it's because of the waste around and how unclean the community is. But today I want us to have that mental picture and think about what we can do going forward, not only for Khayelitsha, but for every other community in South Africa and Africa. So the importance of clean and green environment is that it provides economic opportunities like the green jobs, sustainable business models, etc. It provides resilience to climate change. The green spaces reduces urban heat and they protect biodiversity. There's a study, I'm not sure who did the study, that was looking at the impact of heat or the unavailability of trees and mental health. And it was found that the communities that have less trees are more likely to have more violence because of that. The young people or young boys that are growing up get because it's too hot. So when you think about this climate change or environmental education, it's not only affecting the environment, but it's affecting who we are as people, how we engage with other people, and how we be with other people. So having these green environment or a clean environment is going to enhance livelihoods. And by fostering sustainable agriculture or ecotourism, and also improved mental health because we are planting more trees and we're cleaning our environment. So let's define what Sustainable Development Goal number 30 is, because part of the focus area for this webinar is on this specific Sustainable Development Goal. So the SDG 30 is focused on environmental justice and sustainability. So what is environmental justice? So environmental justice is basically ensuring that everyone has access to resources and that mostly our communities are closer to perhaps a landfill site or an area that has hazardous materials. Now, environmental justice says those things must not be there closer to people. And we must ensure that people live in a clean environment, in an environment that has green trees and beautiful parks and clean parks. So how are we going to do that? By ensuring that we advocate for policies that are going to drive change, environmental justice. And sustainability is all about preserving the earth or preserving our resources for the future generation. And what we've seen over the years is that, excuse me, many companies have sort of gotten to a point where they are extracting so much that the earth cannot regenerate itself or heal itself. Now we must then ensure that we do that by doing sustainable farming, which is something that Africans have always throughout the history been doing for years. But because of the changes that happened, we sort of forgotten about those practices. And now we use pesticides for plants to grow faster, which is harmful to the soil. The SDG 30 also aims for global partnerships to promote inclusive development while protecting natural resources. Now, why is this relevant? It is critical for creating resilient, sustainable communities. It encourages participation at all levels, government, private sector, and communities, and the youth. So youth, I want us to focus to the youth as drivers of change. So the youth as key agents of environmental sustainability is it's an amazing idea because the young people bring innovation, energy, and commitment into driving sustainable communities and ensuring that we come up with projects that not only benefits ourselves, but also benefits the next generation. This is what this generation is looking at and want to achieve. We do this through activism led by young people, and which has been a pivotal in climate action and environmental justice movement globally. We can look at Fridays for Future, which was started by Greta Thunberg when she was urging governments to do something, and it became a global movement that was started by one young girl. That's how powerful young people are. So an example also is the workshops and engagement that Catwalk Youth Development Agency drives and many other organizations, youth-led organizations in South Africa. But most of the times, no one knows about those organizations because we are on the ground, and most of the times they don't have funding. Most of the times they don't have resources to actually do some work. Some of the young people told me that they even take money out of their own pockets to fund the initiatives that they are driving in communities because they really want to see change. So we also do education and awareness. In the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned a child who's growing up seeing waste everywhere. So how are you going to change a mindset of a child who grew up in that kind of environment? Through education and awareness. So we can approach education by saying that, okay, we are where we are now, but how do we move forward? How do we ensure that our communities are a safe, clean environments where our children can be able to play, not with waste, but be able to run on a beautiful green grass? So this allows us to dream of a better community. And that's what I need everyone to do. Even when things are not working out or you don't have funding for the next project that you want to run, but think about the future. What do we want to achieve for the future? So environmental education is like, it empowers the youth with the tools and knowledge to make a difference. The collaboration between schools, NGOs, and communities can foster practical learning experiences, but also collaboration between youth-led organizations to drive more impact. Because I think if we can come together as different organizations, having one vision, which is changing our own communities, it doesn't matter whether you are a climate activist or you are focusing on agriculture, on renewable energy, on and gender-based violence, because all these things are all connected. So they are all connected, which is why it's important for the youth-led organizations to come together and drive impactful change, because sometimes when you are in your little corner, you don't see the change that you're making. But when you come together, it's the change is much bigger, because there's someone implementing in Western Cape while you're implementing in Eastern Cape. The other one is implementing in Free State somewhere. So this is why collaboration between youth-led organizations is extremely important. So what is the role of the youth in advancing Sustainable Development Goal number 30? So the youth can become community leaders. So they can engage in local cleanup efforts, recycling programs, tree planting, and community garden projects. And we can do this by coming together and ensuring that we become the future that we want to see. So we become the communities that we want to see in the future, because change cannot come if we're not going to be doing anything. So it also encourages sustainable practices through peer education and social media advocacy. Young people are big on social media advocacy, and it makes a huge difference, because you can run literally a movement on social media of young people just driving education on social media. So policy advocacy. I recently attended a youth climate change boot camp that was organized by WWF, SACAN, and many other organizations, where about 22 young people were selected to come together and be climate champions. So within this, we were given a task where we were looking at the Climate Change Act, and we were looking at, we were given a task to become a minister of each department. So there were Minister of Education, Minister of Small Business Development, Minister of Mineral Resources, and we took this activity, we embodied these positions, and we really wanted to drive change. What really stood out for me is not only that we embodied and we became these positions, but it's the fact that within all of that activity, what we wanted to do was to find change, to make a difference. And therefore, we found ways that each department can collaborate and work together to achieve a certain goal. This is what happens when young, like-minded young people come together. And I think it's very important for the youth to get into, to participate in policy-making spaces, because it ensures that our voices are heard. But how is that going to happen? It means that the youth must really be included in these spaces and in these decision-making rooms, not only as just a number to say, oh, we are empowering about 10 young people, but we are not being heard. Our voices have to be heard. We have to impact policies and find ways that young people, because we know what we want. We are the future. We are the future generation, and the kind of environment and communities that we want to live in, we know that. Therefore, we must be included in policy making spaces. We must engage in dialogues like this one can influence decisions on climate policies at local, national, and global levels. So the case studies from Africa, we have Green Khaltsha, who does incredible work in Cape Town. We have Motherwell and Enviro Hub, which is in Gqeberha. It's a sustainable development program, and it promotes waste sorting, sustainable livelihoods. It also does agriculture. So we also have Cultural Connections and Umthombo Trust, which is in the Eastern Cape. And their projects span environmental education and gender-based peace initiatives, all grounded in creating safe, inclusive spaces. We have a youth-led reforestation project in Kenya, where young people are literally planting trees, because after the big companies cut those trees, no one went back to plant the trees. Now that is degrading the environment as well, but young people took it upon themselves to do something about that. And I think the most beautiful thing about not only these 4 organizations, but many other organizations, youth-led organizations, is that we do it even if we have lack of resources, but because we know what the kind of future that we want, we keep doing it. And the nice thing about most of the organization is that they're including traditional knowledge systems, because we are realizing the importance of including traditional knowledge systems, not only in our education and advocacy, but how we live our lives. Because Africans and indigenous people have lived a sustainable life. And there are practices and principles that we can take from there that can be implemented today for the future. So how can you drive change in your community? So these are the practical steps. There's many that we can discuss. I think I love like in-person engagements, because we can talk about them and write them down, and everybody can just like jump in and add. So we can get involved in local initiatives and join or start a cleanup, environmental clubs, or advocacy groups. We can collaborate with local government, of which I think it's extremely important, especially when we're speaking about removing waste or cleaning our own communities. Because if we're going to clean the community, today there's going to be a cleanup in a field somewhere in Gqeberha. Tomorrow, people are going to be dumping in the same area. So how do we approach this? We approach it through education. The community must be involved in organizing the cleanup. Not only that, but after cleaning that space, let's find something to do with it. Let's plant some vegetables. Let's turn it into a beautiful park for children to play, a beautiful, safe park for children to play. Because if you're just going to leave it open like that, people are still going to dump. And another thing is education must be supplemented with resources, because we cannot continue educating people from our community saying, oh, you must clean, you must separate from source. But where are they going to get the resources to do all these things? So this is why collaborating with local government and saying, okay, see, this is what we're trying to do in our community, but we need resources. We need the truck to come to our community at least 3 times a day, because one truck coming once a week is not enough for the amount of people that are in this community. That's communicating in a logical and a strategic way as young people. So we need to also educate and raise awareness, as I mentioned, by sharing knowledge through workshops, social media, and local media. We can promote circular economy practices by promoting, like starting a small business ventures focused on waste reduction, recycling, and eco-friendly products. For young people, most of the things that we like is fashion. And one of the initiatives that we are doing as Catwalk Youth Development Agency is sustainable fashion, where young people came and they were like, okay, denim is a problem, but how do we then use a problem to find a solution for the future? So now we are recycling and upcycling denim, and hopefully we are going to get some funding, because we need to buy some sewing machines, and so that we can scale up. And another thing that I want to mention here on promoting secular practices is that as an organization, we do promote these secular practices, but most of the times I would sit back and think, but when we say, okay, start a business, and we as an organization are already struggling to find finances or to find grant funding, how are they going to sustain themselves? So now we need to come up with strategies of how do we do that and ensure that after we have discussed these amazing, incredible ideas in workshops, they can be implemented and supported by so many people. They can be supported by government. This is why collaboration with government is so important, private sector, but we need to come together and come up with a strategy of how are we going to do that. So in conclusions, I want you to take away today is that youth have a crucial role to play in driving environmental sustainability. And our community participation and local action are the foundations of global change. So drive change from where you are, from your community. Drive change. People will catch up. Just because no one is supporting you, it doesn't mean that you should stop, because there are many other people who feel the same way, that but like no one is doing anything. Like, then what is it that I'm doing that is going to make a difference? How is it going to make a difference? Just know that it's making a difference, even the smallest, tiniest difference, but it is. And together we can create a green and sustainable future for Africa and beyond. And I just want to leave you with this quote that says, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, but working together is success. Therefore, let's come together and keep together and work together to succeed and have sustainable communities where our children can play in parks and drink water from the taps and the rivers. So yeah, thank you. If you have any more questions, please do ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Khayelitsha. Thank you so much for that insightful, provoking presentation. It really hits a few spots there. Thank you so much. And actually, there is a question. We do have a question for you. We'll just take it up whilst it's still hot. So Valentina has one question. How can the youth get engaged to encourage on a government level? To encourage on a government level to ban plastics from the shops. And I remember that Ghana has been successful in this years ago. So the question is, how can the youth get engaged to encourage on a government level to ban plastics from the shops? I think, do you want to take that one, Valentina?
Yes. Thank you, Valentina. That's actually a great question. I think for me, I would say that so the youth is everywhere. Young people are not just those that are on the ground doing something. There's young people within government that works for government, and therefore they must be the drivers of change there in their space because they have access to those resources and they have access to people who develop policies. This is why young people should really advocate for change. And then that's what should happen, is that young people must advocate for that.
We lost you there for a bit, Khayelitsha.
Okay, can you hear me now? I'm sure it's network.
Khayelitsha?
Hi. Oh no. Yes, I can hear you.
We lost you there for a bit. Now we can hear you.
No.
Yeah, you can go.
Hi, can you hear me? I could hear you. I don't know why you couldn't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, so yeah, you can go ahead. We can hear you now. Yeah, you can go ahead. Sorry.
All right. As I was saying, that young people must drive change where they are. And really we must have every time. I think I want us, like young people, and just not young people, people in general, to get rid of this individualistic mentality that I want to do things for me and get rich for me and do all these things for me. But we are given an opportunity to be able to change the future. And we need to take it upon ourselves to drive sustainable change. If it needs banning single-use plastics, or redesigning products or packaging in a way that is recyclable, including circular economy in designing. Those are the things that we should be advocating for, and advocating for strategies that are for that. And I think that it's where we can start as young people. It's start where you are. Don't think of it because if you think of it in this like big, like it's this big problem that you need to ban plastics, it's going to feel daunting. It's going to feel like it's too much. You can't do it as a young person. But like, take it one step at a time. Try to make a difference in your space, in government offices as well. I hope I did. I answer you, Valentina.
Yeah. And also adding to that, thank you for that, Vanessa. You are correct there, because it's a long journey, the sustainability that we are going for. So yes, the media is showing it as something that needs to be done now. We need to clean up now, we need to ban plastics now, we need to stop fishing now. And if we look at how pollution and all of this started, it started with a few great men that started a business. I'm going to make an example, a business that makes soft drinks, for example. They started that business and they were not global. They were in their small little community, having a small deal in a supermarket. And then from there, one person started buying that one bottle and they threw it away. And then the next person did that, and the next person did that. And now all of that accumulated over all these years to the piles that we see now in the seas, to the piles that we see on land, to the piles that we see everywhere, actually. So it will not be a quick fix, because we're also looking at fixing, at resolving the carbon emissions that have been produced by airplanes, by the cars that we drive, by technology that is being manufactured, and a many of it. There's just a lot. And if we look at it that way, it looks like an impossible task. It feels daunting and it's discouraging for some people. Couple that with there's no funding. Couple that with the government isn't actually paying attention. The private companies are only giving out stories and numbers without actually doing the work. So there's so many things that we need to look at, and we are on the right track. We are on the right track, like Vanessa said. We need to look at the positive side of things. What are we doing right currently? And how can we expand on that? How can we work together on that from different parts of the country, different parts of the continent, all the way across different parts of the world? Then we can have a successful, healthy environment, an environment that thrives on teamwork, because this is all about teamwork. The environment gave us life, and we need to give something back. So that's all it takes. And thank you for the question, Valentina. It's a very important question. And I call us agents, or spies of nature, or agents of nature. So wherever we are, we need to advocate. We need to correct certain steps. We need to share this knowledge with each other, because even this webinar on its own, how many people did you share it with as a participant here? How many people know that you are here? So yes, you are here and we appreciate your time, but now, are you sharing it? Are you spreading it across, or are you keeping that information to yourself? Because we need to work together in order to make to drive this change. And Vanessa, thank you so much.
Thank you, Khaltsha. I just want to go back to what you were saying. Going back to Valentina's question, I think we need to look at, there's so many regulations in South Africa. Well, South Africa has one of the best, but when it comes to implementation, it's always a problem because of how those policies were developed. They were developed without the people on the ground. So using a top-down approach when developing policies, regulations, it usually doesn't work because it doesn't represent what on the ground people are going through or are facing, the challenges that they're facing. So it's incredibly important to build strategies with the people. And not only is it such a strategic move, it's such a simple way to do, because if you have people buying in and being part of developing a strategy for them, then implementation becomes easy because they become a part, they feel like they are a part of this regulation. And it goes to the EPR regulation. Now we're trying to find ways on how do we implement this EPR on the ground. And now we are having discussions with people who are working in municipalities and trying to find solutions for that. That is another way of trying to drive impactful change. And I think it's quite important to do that. It's important to not only, because like I not only am an advocate for change and working with young people, but I also have a full-time job. So I just closed my work teams and opened my personal teams now. So that's what we do, because I'm not doing this for anything else but to see actual change happening in our communities, because we deserve to live in a beautiful and green and clean and safe environment. And I think if I can make if I can make a small difference in my little corner and advocate and organize other young people around the world, around South Africa, to come together to drive this change, I think we can have such significant and immense change in our communities. And it doesn't matter whether you are focusing on climate action or environmental justice, but we have to come together. But also because of how I'm thinking now that how the whole funding thing is the structure, the framework of funding is organized is that we must fight for funding. So even if there are ways that we need, I can like CIDA can collaborate with Khaltsha and his organization, but because we want something for yourself as an organization, it's difficult to do that. But if we can look at it from a perspective that Khaltsha's organization is driving impactful change in their communities. I am driving impactful change in the Eastern Cape. We can come together and collaborate on certain things. And I think it's a very strategic way of thinking, because not only are you bringing your expertise as an organization, but you're bringing expertise from other organization to beef up the grant proposal. So I think I really want us to think in a very collaborative way and to really come together and drive impactful change in our communities. And we can only do that through collaboration and not trying to be individualistic and want to shine alone. So the things that I talk about here are not just my words, they are the voices of young people that I've collaborated and spoken to. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that, Palisa. And that is 100% correct. Nobody's here to save us. We can only save ourselves, and together we can. I have another question for us, Palisa. That is from May. May is asking, since you mentioned ecotourism, is there any community-based tourism initiatives that are happening on your side?
Okay, so currently there's an organization that is in KZN, it's called BLAAC, BLAAC. I forgot their full name, but what they're doing is they are using film to educate young children about climate change and drive impactful change, and that is a part of tourism. So where you can bring young people or bring tourists to come watch young people singing. There's an organization or a group of young creatives here in Gqeberha called Listen Live Africa. They sing so beautifully. They're a band, and those organizations or those group of young people must be out there, because not only are they trying to advocate for themselves, but they're also advocating for the things that we're advocating for, but through music. So the young people are doing incredible work in different ways, and we must recognize that and try to amplify their voices using that. So I don't know of any, but those are the two that I can think about at the moment. Hi, I can't hear you. You are on mute.
I just said thank you. My mic is very, very bad.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that question, May. It's a really lovely question, because I am based in Cape Town also. And there's a lot of, last year, December, I think we had about close to 1 million tourists all in 1 month. Or half a month, close to 1 million tourists in the city alone, and which is one of my burning questions as well, that I haven't had the time to actually tackle that question, because looking at having a million people from different parts of the world coming to join us, Number one, we, like Palesa mentioned, we have there's community trucks that come, government trucks that come and collect trash and litter from the communities. They come once a week. We know on Wednesday they're coming in the morning. We take our bins, put them outside. Right? Okay, fine. And then we have extra number of visitors now coming from different countries, and we don't have more trucks to accommodate that influx. We don't have any. We're not. It looks like there's no employment in terms of who's going to collect the waste, what's going to happen with the waste, and all of that, which is a bit of a challenge, because I see Cape Town right now, they've got a Bennett Spring Clean campaign going at the moment. It happened last year as well, but in December it was no longer there. Yeah, I understand. So it's actually communities cleaning up for the visitors, who want the visitors, but the visitors, when they get here, there's no progress, there's no initiatives that involves that encourages them to look, okay, you can go to Motherwell, and when you're there in Motherwell, these are the initiatives that you can go to. These are the organizations that you can join so that you can play your part. You can either join their backer body, or you can participate in a community cleanup, etc. And it's quite interesting, because knowing Cape Town, that it does have initiatives, however, based on, let's say, for example, there is initiatives that are around that takes tourists to visit orphanages, that takes tourists to visit previously disadvantaged kids, etc. But now, in terms of environmental sustainability, I don't know of any, and that's something that we definitely need to look into. I think there's another question.
I think there's not a question for me. It's a conversation and collab. I love seeing partnerships and collaboration happen. So I'm so excited for this between Lani and Maya. Yes, and Vivian.
So do you wanna read that one for May from Tulani Palace?
Oh, Tulani is saying that he's from Eastern Cape, Gqeberha, and they have been in sustainable tourism since 2019. They started an MPC to help with community, which is the Motherwell, driven concept and ideas, starting from community gardens, running volunteer programs and workshops, and visiting different eco-lodges around the garden route and Eastern Cape, attending or volunteering at tree planting festivals. So they ran the volunteer programs and helped with logistics when it came to weekly programs and soup kitchens. He enjoys sharing his country, and he hopes that it gives you an idea on that question to Palesa, or to me, about ecotourism.
Oh, thanks. Let's really appreciate that input. And then, yeah, so if there's no more questions, I think our time is almost up. So what can we take? I did mention that this is for engagement. And I see there's partnerships coming up, there's networking coming up as well, which is more than what we expected, actually. And thank you very much for joining in, for participating. And yeah, we can connect. I think I will start after tomorrow's webinar. I will start a WhatsApp group, and we'll share. I will share that to everyone that joined the webinar, and then we can just communicate on there, collaborate on there, see how we can help each other, and in finding this impossible task of clean and sustainable environment. environment for everyone. And yeah, that's all from me. Thank you very much for participating. I see someone sent something also here just before we go. Cindy from Cameroon is also working on environmental education in Cameroon, and it was nice to hear from everyone. So I'll share. Actually, let me just share that now. I'll share my WhatsApp contacts, and then just bear in mind that it's a South African number, and then we can connect more from there together, just so that we can expand this, like mentioned, teamwork. That's most important. That's most important among us. If there's nothing else, let's all take care. And then tomorrow's webinar, we'll have Foba from Cameroon. We'll have Abraham, who's currently in the USA. He does recycled backpacks for school kids. And Dr. Nomvuselelo Songelo, who will be joining us as well, who is part of the board in WWF. Thank you so much, guys. Palisa, thank you so much. And Douglas, thank you.
Thank you so much, Khaltsha. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is a professional development center for professionals who aim to improve their professional standing. This means that the learning programs we run are more than just academic programs. They are work-based programs that focus on leveraging your current experience as a professional to build your overall profile. A year down the line, the Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is developing into a preferred center for professional development in Pretoria, with 8 professional development faculties including accounting, teaching, entrepreneurship, as well as IT and many more. For more information, go to acwbl.org or dial +27 12 751 7608. The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning, where work is learning.